The temptation. The first time Olivia Lockwood met Daniel Harrington, she knew she was in trouble. He wasn't just her new boss, he was power and charm wrapped in a tailored suit, the kind of man who filled a room with his presence before he even spoke. At 38, Daniel was at the height of his career, running one of the most successful marketing firms in New York City. Olivia, 28, had joined Harrington Company as his executive secretary, a role that demanded professionalism, discretion, and a level of detachment she was finding harder to maintain with each passing day. Their chemistry was undeniable. It started with glances, lingering moments when their eyes met across the boardroom. Then, small touches, a brush of fingers as he handed her a file, a fleeting contact that sent electricity down her spine. The late nights at the office turned into intimate conversations, and those conversations blurred the lines between work and desire. Daniel was married. Everyone knew about Claire Harrington, the poised and elegant woman who attended galas on his arm. Olivia had seen the pictures, had even spoken to Claire once over the phone when she called looking for Daniel. Guilt clawed at Olivia, but desire had a way of drowning out reason. The affair begins. The first time it happened, it was a thunderstorm outside. The office was quiet, everyone else had gone home, and the city lights flickered against the rain-soaked windows. Olivia had brought Daniel coffee, and as she placed it on his desk, he caught her wrist. "Stay," he said softly, his voice carrying something deeper than just an order. She should have left. She knew it. But she didn't. Instead, she let herself be pulled into his orbit, let herself feel the heat of his touch. Their first kiss was urgent, filled with pent-up longing, the kind of passion that made her head spin. One moment, she was standing, the next she was against the office bookshelf, her body pinned between expensive literature and the man she'd been fantasizing about for months. From that night on, they were reckless. Meetings stretched long after office hours, business trips became stolen weekends, and text messages turned into whispered promises. They thought they were careful. They thought no one knew. They were wrong. Chapter 3: Suspicion. Claire wasn't a fool. She had been married to Daniel for 12 years. She knew his habits, his routines, the way his touch had become more absent, his late nights more frequent. A wife knows when she is losing her husband. At first, she dismissed her fears as paranoia. But then she found a receipt for a hotel suite in his briefcase, dated on a night when he claimed to be working late. Then there was the way his phone was always face down, the way he hesitated before answering simple questions. Claire knew she had to be sure before she acted. So, she set a trap. It was subtle at first. Claire asked Daniel about his schedule, pretending to be indifferent. She casually mentioned stopping by the office one evening. The slight tightening of his jaw, the flicker of hesitation, it was enough to confirm her suspicions. She hired a private investigator. If there was one thing she wouldn't do, it was confront her husband without proof. The PR was thorough, tailing Daniel's movements, snapping photos that told a story Claire already knew in her heart. Olivia and Daniel, laughing over dinner in a dimly lit restaurant. Their hands brushing in an elevator. And then, finally, the picture that sealed it, Daniel kissing Olivia in the backseat of his car. Claire stared at the images for a long time. Then, she made her move. The confrontation. It was a Friday evening. Olivia had received a text from Daniel, "Meet me at the penthouse suite, 8 p.m. Her heart raced as she stepped into the candlelit hotel room. She found him waiting, his tie loosened, his expression unreadable. "I have something to tell you," he started, but before he could finish, the door swung open. Claire stood in the doorway, poised and unshaken, her gaze flicking between her husband and Olivia. "Well," Claire said, stepping inside. "This is quite the intimate setting." Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. Daniel stiffened beside her. "Claire," he started, but she silenced him with a look. "I knew," Claire continued, "but I needed proof. And here we are." She turned to Olivia. "I suppose you thought you were special. That he'd leave me for you." Olivia swallowed, her throat dry. "It's not like that." Claire laughed, a bitter sound. "It's always like that." She turned back to Daniel. "I hope she was worth it." And with that, she left, leaving behind only the sound of the door clicking shut and the suffocating weight of reality settling between Olivia and Daniel. The aftermath. Daniel's marriage crumbled in the weeks that followed. Claire filed for divorce, her lawyers relentless. The media caught wind of the scandal, and Daniel's company suffered. Olivia found herself alienated at work, her colleagues' once friendly faces now cold and distant. One evening, as she sat in her apartment staring at the city skyline, her phone buzzed. It was Daniel. "I miss you," he said. She closed her eyes. The affair had been thrilling, intoxicating, but now the romance was tainted with the cost of its consequences. "I can't do this anymore, Daniel." "Then, I understand." The line went dead. And with it, the chapter of their forbidden love ended, leaving behind only shadows in the office and memories of what once was.